Good morning from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. It's a pleasure for me to join our prospective families and friends in Turkey today, this evening, I think, for you. My name is David McBride. I'm the Vice Principal Enrollment Management at Upper Canada College. And it's a real pleasure for me to share with you a little bit of information about Upper Canada College. Certainly one of Canada's oldest and one of the foremost schools in the country. I'm going to probably speak for about 25 minutes, 25 minutes, depends if I ramble or not. And then I'll open it up to questions, and we really encourage some great dialogue and some questions and things that I may have missed. And hello to everyone who's saying hello in the chat box. It's hard for me to multitask. I'm a man, so I'm not a great multitasker. So hello to everyone, and thanks for joining us. So let me get started. Again, it's a real pleasure for me to share with you a little bit about Upper Canada College. And our principal always likes to start, with sort of our vision, mission, and values. And what I want to highlight here, it's up on the screen, but we really value each boy, and we aim to inspire every boy to be his best self. And the UCC experience, we hope, reflects the pluralism and promise of Canada and identifies us as a global leader in the education of boys. We're an old school. We date back to 1829, and I think many people, certainly in this country, in Canada, would recognize us as one of the leading schools in the country. Our mission, quite simply, is to provide a transformational learning experience that fosters the development of head, heart, and humanity, and inspires each boy to make a lasting and positive impact on his world. We believe that school is about more than just academics. We really want to develop the whole boy, and that's our goal. And then we have 5 key values. Learning, of course, you would expect in a school that learning is one of the values. Service, community are important ones as well. And 2 that are probably up and coming and probably more important than ever before, the idea of well-being, so that head, heart, and humanity piece. And certainly during the current times in the world right now, well-being of our boys is important, and pluralism. And we are a very pluralistic city, a very pluralistic school. And I think if you look at all that's going on, certainly south of the border in particular, there is a real focus on pluralism, both at UCC and right across North America, and hopefully around the world as well. So vision, mission, and values, sort of basic stuff. There was no test at the end of this. Don't worry, you don't have to know this, but happy to share these because we worked very hard on these, and this is really towards 2029 and our 200th anniversary. So these are the vision, mission, and values that we're gonna stick to moving forward. A little bit about UCC. We are, as I mentioned, an all-boys school since 1829. So we're one of the oldest schools in Canada. And we have been a boys' school since 1829. We continue to be a boys' school, and we're going to be a boys' school into the foreseeable future. One of the things that I always remind families of, though, is there's a very strong tradition in this city, in particular, around single-gender schools. So we have UCC, and we're surrounded by about, I guess, 4 girls' schools, and our boys have a lot of interaction with the girls at the girls' schools. Especially our boarding students have a lot of interaction with those girls through weekend activities, weekend programming, and what have you. All of our drama productions are done with the girls' school closest to us. So there is a lot of interaction. I also remind families that over half of our faculty and staff are women. So it's not like boys arrive here and they never see a woman again. That's not the case. But we've been all boys since 1829. And we'll stay that way for a while. We are an international baccalaureate continuum school. And what does that mean? It means from senior kindergarten through to year 12, we offer the IB diploma. We believe that it is the gold standard. We believe it's the best program in the world. And certainly the top schools around the world are IB schools. So I'll talk a little bit more about IB on a further slide. We are a fairly large school by Canadian standards. So we have about 1,170 boys from senior kindergarten to year 12, and that includes 88 boarding students. And we have 88 boarding students right now from 25 countries. We have 1 boy from Turkey right now, going into year 12, and we've had a number of boys from Turkey, both in our boarding program and families that have moved to Canada as well. So I would say, as a general comment, the boys that we have from Turkey are excellent students. They are really well-rounded. The boy that we have right now is a very good swimmer. We've had a very good rower here. One of the boys who graduated a number of years ago from Turkey went to engineering at University of Michigan. So amazing students have come to us from Turkey. So that's why I was thrilled to be able to do this webinar today, because we've had such great students at UCC from your country. So we're a pretty big school, split into two different schools. We have a prep school that goes from kindergarten to grade 7. That's where I'm housed right now. And then our upper school, which is the picture that you see on the left there with the tower, that's where our boys from year 8 to 12 are located. And the two boarding houses are found just behind the upper school. We have two campuses, actually. So our main campus, our Deer Park campus, is 35 acres, and it's located about 10 minutes north of downtown Toronto. It's in an area of Toronto called Forest Hill. It's arguably the nicest part of the city. And so we have this beautiful location, probably the most valuable real estate in the city. And then 45 minutes north of campus, we have our outdoor education campus called Norval. It's an incredible spot. We take the boys in boarding up there probably a couple of times a year for different activities. We do winter camping. We do something in the beginning of September around team building and high ropes courses, canoe trips in the spring. And in the prep school, all of our students in the prep school spend a fair amount of time up at Norval. So we really are very fortunate, and really fortunate to be in the middle of Toronto. And Toronto is the 4th largest city in North America, the most multicultural city in the world right now, and also a very, very safe city. So I think that our students, our boarding students, and all of our students feel incredibly safe in this beautiful community. We're also 25 minutes from the airport, which is quite handy as well, that we're so close to the airport. So for boys who are flying in, quick to get here. Look, some of the reasons why we are a school of choice, and we're arguably one of the strongest schools in Canada. Some would say we're the best. We don't like to say we're the best because we're Canadian, but we're certainly one of the strongest schools in the country. And we're very fortunate to have strong applications every year, and really can be very selective about the boys that we admit to the school. So why are we a school of choice? Number one, I've already talked about the fact that we're all boys. We are experts in boys' education. There is no question that boys and girls learn differently. I think everyone would agree with that statement, and we are very much experts in boys' education. Our faculty have chosen to be here because they love working with boys, and our faculty often speak around the world, around the education of boys and how it differs. So, really, really, really strong in that area. IB, I've already talked briefly about the IB. Again, gold standard of high school programs in the world. We believe the IB develops worldwide, a worldwide perspective, really deep thinkers, great writers, skills that are going to really help students achieve when they head off to university around the world. Because we're a pretty big school at 1,170 students, again, big by Canadian standards, we really offer unmatched co-curricular experiences. We are so fortunate here to be able to offer we offer 19 sports for boys. We offer over 80 clubs and associations every year. And our sports teams are very successful. They win far more than they lose. If I think about something like our Model UN team, our Model UN team travels all over North America, is one of the most outstanding programs of any high school in North America in Model UN. Those are just a couple of examples. Music, drama, fine arts, incredible productions. Before coming here, I worked in a university for a number of years, and the drama productions in high school at UCC are better than the ones that my university that I worked at put on. So we're very, very fortunate to have outstanding boys, outstanding faculty, and really unmatched extracurricular opportunities. I'll show you a slide a little later on that is the university destinations for our graduates of this year. But what I want to tell you is we take, obviously, post-secondary counseling very, very seriously. Families spend a great deal of money to send their students here, and we want to make sure that we're providing great counseling for them. One of the things that I love about our boarding program is the director of residential life is also the university counselor for the boys in boarding. So he gets to know those boys on a very, 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 very intimate level. Really can help guide them on their the next journey around universities and colleges, and especially for the boys applying to US or UK schools, there's a lot of extra pieces, involved in those applications. And Mr. Turner, who runs boarding, is their university counselor, works very, very closely with them. I think the other thing that I would say is, we've been around for a long time, so we have about 12,500 old boys, so 12,500 graduates who live in 75 countries around the world. And I did not go to UCC. I came to work here, but I didn't go here. And certainly when I see the strength of that network, it's a very incredible bond that the boys have. And whether you graduated 50 years ago or last year, you were an old boy, and our old boys stick together, support each other, and really work and help each other out. So it's a pretty powerful. Certainly, in this city, in Toronto, people would say that UCC is probably the most powerful network in this city, and in this country and around the world. You'll find the old boys doing wonderful things. So we're very, very fortunate from that respect. As I mentioned, we do the International Baccalaureate. So I know that there are schools in Turkey that are IB. I hope that they're good schools, because certainly in this country, the best schools in this country are International Baccalaureate schools as well. So we've been an IB school for 25 years now. So we have been doing this for quite a while by Canadian standards. And as I mentioned, we're a continuum school, SK through to 12. Why do we think the IB is such a strong diploma to receive? Number one, it's internationally recognized. Universities, colleges around the world recognize the IB as the best preparation for post-secondary studies. So we know that based on our university acceptances. We know that based on the hundreds of university reps that come to our campus every year. They love the IB. They love the students and how well they are prepared for life in university and college, and the rest of their life as well. It stays with them forever. Certainly, we believe that the IB develops globally minded students. That is part of the IB. It's really global concepts. In theory, a boy doing the IB in Turkey is studying a lot of the same things and doing a lot of the same things as a boy here in Toronto. So it really is about developing globally minded students. I think there is also a real demand in the IB that you must be involved in things other than just class. So there's what's called the CAS requirements, so creativity, activity, and service. You cannot receive an IB diploma without being involved in some kind of creative outlet. Service activities, sports activities. These are components of the program that are mandatory. And certainly, again, we hear over and over again, university admissions people, university faculty say the IB is the gold standard for university admissions. And I just want to tell a quick story. I was interviewing a boy for year 7, actually, a couple of years ago, and both of his parents were university professors at University of Toronto, which is 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes down the road from UCC, one of the top universities in the world, top 20 universities in the world. And without me asking about IB, these two professors who were Cambridge and Oxford educated, so they're, I think they're pretty knowledgeable. They said to me, Dave, within about 2 weeks of a class, we can literally pick out students who have IB and students who did not do the IB. And I said, come on, I don't believe that. And they said, no, it's true. IB students are better writers. They're better critical thinkers, they're better communicators, they're much more open, and those are the skills as a university professor, those are the skills that we want to see. So I said to them, look, is it okay if I tell that story down the road? And they said, it's the truth, it's how we feel. And anyways, their son did enroll in UCC and is doing quite well here, and they're very happy, UCC's parents, and happy that their son is following the IB. And as I mentioned earlier, we're the only boys' school in North America that is what's called a continuum school. So we're the only boys' school in North America that does the IB from senior kindergarten, from SK, through to year 12. And the beauty of the IB is that there are approaches to learning, there's approaches to teaching, there are attitudes and concepts that really are found throughout the whole program. And really, again, I worked in universities for a long time before coming to UCC. And, when I look at what the boys are doing in year 11 and 12 in the IB diploma program, it's very much like, first, second year courses, arts courses at a university. small class sizes, big ideas, big thinking. It really is the best preparation for university. And many of our students will graduate and they'll come back after first year or second year at universities around the world. And they come back and they say, you know what, we were so well prepared for university or college life after being at UCC. And I think that's something that we want and we feel very strongly about. So the IB is great. The IB is our academic program. It's very rigorous. But as I mentioned earlier, I think the learning beyond the classroom and what we can offer boys beyond the classroom is really, really exceptional. And again, I think I credit the fact that we're a big school, that we can offer a lot because we have a lot of boys and we have a lot of boys who want to do different things. So we can offer a lot, but also because we have dedicated faculty who are here, who work very hard to make sure that they're providing both a great educational experience for our boys, but also a co-curricular experience that is second to none. So I've already mentioned the creativity, activity, and service components of the IB, mandatory for all boys to be participating in. They have to be involved. They have to be giving back. They have to be doing more than just going to school. That's not good enough here. It's about really the whole experience. We offer 19 sports, as I mentioned, and some families will say to me, well, my son, he doesn't really like sports. If your son is coming into boarding at UCC, we actually expect the boys in boarding to play sports 2 out of the 3 terms that we offer sports. So we have 3 terms of sports. Boys in boarding must be involved in sports 2 to the 3 terms because we just believe in the power of sport. We don't believe boys should be in their rooms playing video games. We believe they should be out busy doing things. Some of our sports are competitive, and our varsity hockey team is one of the best in North America. It's gonna be very hard for a boy to make hockey if he hasn't played high-level hockey. But something like American football, every boy who wants to play American football will take a boy who has never played football before and turn him into a pretty solid football player. In fact, the boy that I mentioned from Turkey who graduated a number of years ago, he was a boy who played football and rugby here, and he'd never played those sports before, but he came to UCC and he was actually one of the co-captains of our football team. So we offer 19 different sports, 3 different seasons of sports, and we really value the impact the impact that sports can have on a boy's experience and on a boy's growth and learning. We also are very, very strong in the arts. Sometimes I think families believe, oh, it's a boys' school, all they care about is sports. That's not true at all. Music, drama, fine arts, and film are huge points of pride for this school. I already mentioned our drama productions are outstanding. We offer a great film program in the IB curriculum, and one of the things that we do is at the end of the boys' year in year 12, we rent a movie theater in Toronto, and with 2 other IB schools in the city, we have a film festival. And the boys have produced a 7-minute short film. And I'll say that our boys' films are usually the best films at the film festival. And these are films that the boys have written, directed, produced on their own. It's amazing. And then I look at some of the art that's around the school, and most of the art that's around the school is boys' art, and it is exceptional. We have boys who go on to art schools, again, across North America to pursue degrees in arts. And then, the student clubs and organizations piece, huge part of who we are as a school. Things like Model United Nations, debating, we have a very active business case competition. But whatever boys' interests are, if we don't have a club that meets that, it's up. The boys can make that, make a club themselves. A couple of years ago, breakdancing, breakdancing when I was a kid, that was cool. Like breakdancing made a bit of a resurgence, and so we had a breakdancing club on campus. We don't have a fencing team in our athletic program, but there's a very active fencing club, which actually brings a university fencing coach to campus for the boys. So really, anything that a boy dreams about is possible. A couple of years ago, we had a boy who came here who was very interested in planes and aerospace and what have you, and he started an aerospace club, and it's become a very, very active club here. They actually travel They're the only student association invited to a major conference in Montreal, which is another major city in Canada, about 5 hours from here. We're the only student group that's there. It's a bunch of aviation professionals, plus our boys. So really, really great learning beyond the classroom. Well-being, as I mentioned, is something that's really important to us as a school. It is one of our key values, you know, and to ensure that we are providing a great experience for our boys. You know, just a couple of bullets here. We have a beautiful fitness center in our upper school. That's, I believe, we're the only school I know of in Canada that has a full-time strength and conditioning coach, so a full-time trainer available on campus. So he works with the boys because we've got this great facility. But if boys don't know how to use it properly, it's a bit of a waste. So we have a full-time person who makes sure the boys are doing the right things. We're also really, really fortunate to have extensive counseling and health support. So full-time nurses, full-time counselor, full-time psychologist, all available for the boys. And especially for the boys in boarding, we have a really, really, really wonderful support network for the boys in boarding, and a number of different sessions that they can pop into during the week, just if they want someone to talk to. And then within our school, it's a big school. So one of the ways we make the big school smaller is we have a really robust house and advising system. So we have 2 boarding houses, Weds and Setons, and the competition between those 2 houses, it is fierce. It's like a World Cup of soccer. Every event that takes place between, and sometimes there's sporting events, sometimes they're trivia nights, sometimes they're improv, but there really is a wonderful pride in your house. But then there's also, you know, small group advising that happens on a weekly basis, so that the boys feel connected. And then, you know, again, I think one of the great things about UCC is the fact that we're in the middle of the city. And so for boys who want to make a difference, want to get involved in community service, there are tons of opportunities right on our doorstep, right outside of our campus. And perhaps the one that most boys are involved in is a program called Horizons. And it's a program that's over 20 years old. It was established that matches our students up with students from schools that are in sort of less privileged areas of the city. So, you know, we may offer tutoring programs, we may offer learn to skate programs, soccer programs in our indoor bubble. It's really a wonderful way for the boys to give back, to get engaged, and to feel connected to the community. And as I mentioned, there's a strong component of service that's required to graduate with the IB diploma, and it's really at the boys' direction. It's not us as a school telling the boys what to do. It's about the boys really deciding how they want to have an impact, how they want to make a difference. I want to talk about boarding a little bit in particular, because really, hoping that there's some families that would consider sending their sons to Toronto in September 2021 or beyond for boarding. And we're really fortunate. We offer one of the few urban boarding programs in North America. Most boarding schools in North America are in smaller towns, beautiful towns, small towns. We are one of the few that's in a major city. So as I mentioned earlier, Toronto is the 4th largest city in North America, most multicultural city in the world. So we offer an urban boarding experience, and we're home to 88 to 90 boys every year from 25 countries around the world. So we do have a smaller boarding program, and I know sometimes that concerns families. They're worried, well, the school's not really committed to boarding, or the boys aren't going to get to know a lot of people. 2 things I want to say to that. Number one, on the boys knowing a lot of other boys, coming into boarding, by day 1, they have 87 brothers in boarding, and then they're part of a school of 760 boys in the upper school. And there's a lot of interaction between the day and the boarding boys. If you're walking down the hallway in our upper school, you could not tell who's a boarder, who's a day student. They all look the same. They're in the same classes. So they're a microcosm of a bigger school. The other story I want to tell is one going on right now. And like most of the world, we're dealing with COVID-19, and I think we're dealing with it quite well in Toronto. But in the spring, we made a decision. We said, look, we offer single and double rooms in boarding, but during COVID-19, we think we should only offer single rooms. And that meant reducing the number of boarding students we have. And that, of course, concerns me. I'm in running admissions. I've got great boys that we've admitted. So I went to our principal, and our principal lives on campus. He lives in a 10-bedroom, beautiful house on campus. And I said to him, Principal McKinney, I've got a little bit of a problem. I think I need a few more beds for boys in boarding. Perhaps we could ask a couple of the people who live on campus to move off campus. And I actually live on campus as well. I work in boarding. And so within about 10 seconds, Principal McKinney looked at me and said, we'll move out of Grant House. We'll give you Grant House for boarding. And I think that speaks to, number one, the commitment we have to our boarding program. But I think it also speaks to the commitment of our leadership. The principal of the school will move his family off campus for the year so that we can take care of our boys in boarding. Admission to boarding, I say it starts in year 8, grade 8, year 8. Typically, though, to be frank with you, we would prefer year 9, year 10, or year 11. Year 8 is pretty young for boarding. It means 5 years in the boarding program, so it's a bit young. We renovated our boarding facilities about 5 years ago. When I first got here, I did not want a mother to see the boarding houses. They were not very pretty. They are beautiful now. Single and double rooms, single rooms for you boys in year 12, air conditioned, beautiful new furniture, really nice facilities, renovated washrooms that are great. And we run a program really that keeps the boys busy from 8 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. There's mandatory study hall every evening during the week. So from 7 to 9, Monday through Thursday, mandatory study that the boys are involved in. Excellent weekend programs. Again, because we're located in the city and we're 10 minutes from downtown, we can do lots of different things. We take the boys to sporting events when live sports are back on. We take them to museums. We take them indoor rock climbing. To be frank with you, one of the favorite activities for the boys is they like to go paintballing, and they love to go paintballing, and they like to attack the teachers who work in boarding or the adults who work in boarding, like me. But it's really great. Last year, I took 15 boys bowling on a Friday night, and we had the best time bowling. About 15 minutes from campus. It was great. And again, I love boys because they're competitive. So all the boys wanted to beat me in bowling. I'm not the greatest bowler. I'm not bad, but anyways, they cheered really loudly when one of the boys beat me in bowling. The other thing that I would say is we're really fortunate to have 18 adults who live and work in boarding on our campus. So as I mentioned, I live on campus. I see those boys on a daily basis. There are 18 of us, and there's 88 to 90 boys a year. So that's a 5-to-1 adult, student to adult ratio. There's very few schools in the country that have that lower ratio. Our academic dean lives on campus and is available to the boys. Number of teachers that they deal with, and their university counselor as well is living on campus. So it's a really wonderful community. I feel very fortunate to live on this campus. I love my favorite part of my job. To be honest with you, it's not the admissions piece, it's the working and boarding piece. I love those boys. They're amazing boys, and I learned so much from them. I mentioned earlier that I'd show a slide that points out where our boys are going to university. So this is the graduating class from this year. So this is the graduating class of 2020. Most of our kids, again, remember, most of them are day students, and most of them go to school in Canada, and we have great universities in Canada, fantastic universities. I mentioned University of Toronto, top 20 in the world. McGill in Montreal, outstanding. Queen's University, about right halfway between Montreal and Toronto, amazing school. So great school. So and then we've got one of our boys from a boarder from Russia is out at University of British Columbia starting this year. And then you'll see the list of U.S. schools, and our boys are going to really great schools in the U.S. We have boys right now studying at every one of the Ivy League schools, and I think if you look at that list, it's a real list of and this is just where the graduating class from last year is going. It's a real list of top-end universities. And then internationally, again, we had a great year. We have 5 boys who graduated this year going to Oxford or Cambridge, arguably 2 of the best schools in the world. So 2 of our boarding students, one's going to Cambridge, one's going to Oxford. Again, super competitive programs to get into. But I think, again, it just speaks to the success of our program and the recognition that people have of UCC and of the IB. So really positive. Last thing I'll say on this, we have 26 boys in boarding who graduated this year. Half of them received offers of admission to the US or overseas. So there was a great deal of interest in heading abroad. I've been talking a long time now, so I'm going to talk quickly just in terms of what are we looking for in a boy. We are an academic school, a very strong academic school. So we want to see strong students academically. They need to be strong students. We do not offer ESL, so we need them to have, at least an intermediate level of English coming in. So we want boys who are well prepared academically. Character matters to us. We want great boys. We want positive boys. We interview most of the boys who are applying to us, and we're really trying to get a sense for their character, who they are, what kind of guy they are, because they're going to be living in our community. So we want to make sure that they're a great fit. And then that co-curricular piece, we want boys who do more than just study. We want boys who are going to come and make a difference, going to get involved in sports, going to get involved in extracurriculars, going to get involved in music, whatever it is. We're looking for passion around their co-curriculars as well. And that's, that's really important. I think it's important to have great balance. Just again, really briefly, our application actually opened today. So our online application is available today. Everything this year will be virtual. Everything will be online. So for day students, our deadline for applying is the 1st of December. We have a rolling deadline for boarding. So typically we're full by April. We're looking for 25 or 30 students a year. So I would suggest, if you're thinking about boarding, getting an application before Christmas is a good thing. On the day side, we have very limited entry to certain years. So senior kindergarten, 3, 5, 6, 7, and year 9 are our entry points. For boarding, 9, 10, and 11 are really the predominant years. Sometimes we'll take a boy in year 8. We will never take a boy in year 12. Boys have to be here for 11 and 12. We do have some boys who just come, they want 1 year boarding experience in Canada, and we do accept the odd boy in 9 and 10 just for 1 year. We're gonna look at the last 2 years of report cards. So we want their June report cards from 2019, 2020. We also require an admissions test. Typically, we'd like the SSAT, Standardized Secondary School Admission Test, for applicants to year 8 or above. And we do interview most boys. Not every boy, but we interview most boys. And certainly, because of my keenness to have some boys from Turkey, every boy from Turkey would have an interview with us. And our interviews typically would be done by Skype or FaceTime or Zoom, and really no trick questions, just trying to get to know the boys, try to understand what motivates them, what drives them, why they want to come to the school. And we also interview the parents as well. And as I mentioned, we start making rolling offers. So for boarding, we'd start making offers probably in December this year. And if it's a boy applying for day, we have a common date with all of the Toronto schools on the 26th of February. So we make all of our offers on the 26th of February. How can you learn more? Hopefully you've learned a little bit about UCC. If you're interested in learning more, I think our website, we try to keep our website pretty up to date. There's a fair amount of information there. I'd also encourage you to look up UCC on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, LinkedIn if you'd like. You can get a real good sense of our community that way. We will, during the fall, be offering virtual tours. You can get a virtual tour on our website right now, but we're trying to coordinate in-person virtual tours a couple of times a week. We'll also be offering available chat sessions. If you have questions, you can get in touch with us, and we'll have much more information within the next week or so on our website as we finish our updating. But certainly, I'm more than happy to connect whenever is needed. My email, I've given it to you in the chat, and you can feel free to email me. I try to respond within about 12 hours of every email I get. So if it's 1 o'clock in the morning here, I probably won't email right away, but if you email me during the day in Toronto, chances are you'll get a response very quickly. I'm addicted to my email. So that's UCC in a half hour or so. I said I would be 20 minutes. I was a little longer than I thought. I apologize for that. I get excited and I get chatting. And I think there are some questions in the chat already. Let me just get into that. Questions, loading questions. I'm getting the spinning circle and it says loading questions. Is there another way for, oh, here we go. Okay. Oh, the questions disappeared. Hold on. I'm not sure why the questions are not coming up. Oh, here we go. Okay. Is custodian, so first question, is custodianship compulsory for 9, 10, and 11 grades? Thank you. Yes. Boys need to have either a guardian here within the city, or if not, there's a company that we work with that will provide guardianship, custodianship for international students. So yes, it is compulsory for international students. Are there any scholarships for students with interests in sports and arts? That's a great question. I wish I had a great answer, and I wish my answer was yes, but we don't. All of our international students are full fee payers. Our tuition fee for a boarding student right now is about $65,000 Canadian. So there are no scholarships. Are classes relatively hard compared to Turkish high school curricula? Do students need tutoring? What a great question. Again, I'm going to base my answer on the students that we've had from Turkey. And I will tell you that at the beginning, I think for the first couple of months, it's a bit of an adjustment. But I think one of the things that, the IB is competitive. We're a competitive school for admission. But I think one of the great strengths is this supportive nature of our faculty and staff. So if the boys need a little bit of extra support, it's available to them in class. It's available to them in the evenings during study in the boarding houses. So none of the boys that we've admitted that have come directly from Turkey, I think have had really a huge challenge adjusting. And look, that's part of my job. Part of my job is to make sure that we bring in boys who can handle the academic rigor of the school. And and I think we achieve that every year. What school facilities can students use? Again, really good question. I think one of the nice things for our boarding students is they really, again, during normal times, not necessarily during COVID times, but during normal times, they very much have the run of the building. So, in the evening, if they want to go over and study somewhere in the school, or if they want to go over and work on a music piece with a grand piano, if they want to go up to the design lab and do some work in the design lab, that's available to them, and they have access to the building. We have 2 hockey rinks on campus, so at least 3 nights a week they have ice time available after study is done, and then every night of the week they can go and use, again after study, they can go and use the workout facility, the strength and conditioning center. They can go and use that facility, and we also let them leave campus. Again, we think one of the advantages of being here is being part of this city, and so we give them room to go and to take advantage of what's available in Toronto. Next question, could you please tell us about the social program? I'm going to assume that means sort of social life for the boys. And again, I think I talked about earlier about brotherhood, and I think that's one of the things that's lovely that happens in our boarding community is they develop. We have 88 boys in boarding. They have 87 brothers really quickly. I am almost 50 years old, so I am not the ace person on social media, but my goodness, these boys seem to know more people in the city after being here a couple of weeks than I do, having lived here 9 years. I think through social networks and what have you, it is very easy for the boys to meet other students, whether they're attending other schools, whether they're just in the community. And like I said earlier, we do encourage, especially during the weekend, our weekend programming. We do have a number of activities where we co-host those activities with girls' schools in particular. But a lot of our boys also, of course, were playing sports against other schools so our boys are meeting colleagues that way. When we travel to Model UN competition in Montreal, again, they're meeting students from all over the country. From around the world, so that social piece is very is I think is very important. What do the boys do in their spare time? Good question again. So in terms of their spare time, really during the week, from about 8 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night during the week, their time is pretty much set by us. They're busy the whole time. From 9 to 10:30 during the week, they have free time. They can go to the gym, they can go to the rink, they can go to Starbucks in the village. They can leave campus if they want briefly. And we don't have classes on weekends. Every weekend we organize some kind of weekend activity, at least 2. I mentioned I took boys on a Friday night bowling. So there's a couple of weekend programs that are organized every weekend, but we actually give the boys time to go and explore Toronto. They're boys. They may want to just go and hang out at the mall or go to a movie. That's okay, and we encourage that. We want them to take advantage of everything, everything that this city has to offer. For graduation and getting a high school diploma, how many years does a student have to complete in Canada? So in our school, high school is from grade 8 to grade 12 is what we classify as upper school. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 5 years. I think the key for us really is if boys want to graduate from UCC, they have to come and do at least the last 2 years. So they have to do the IB diploma in their last 2 years. It's compulsory for all students. So that is it's a 2-year program that's mandatory. We do have some students who come, as I said, not my preference, but who come for year 9 or year 10, come for 1 year and then go back. In particular, we have students from Germany and Mexico who do that. And they come for 1 year. They want the Canadian, they want the cultural experience, and they want to head back home. That's fine as well. But typically, it's going to be at least 2 years for the diploma program, 11 and 12, and for us, high school runs from 8 to 12. Our main entry points for boarding, though, as I mentioned, are year 9, year 10, and year 11. So we have, we'll admit 10 boys a year who will be here for 4 years for their high school diploma. What are the age requirements? Again, I think for boys coming into year 9, they're 14, so 14 or so for year 9, 15 for year 10, 16, 17 for year 11 would be typical age requirements. Where do students go after graduation? I think I answered that with that slide of where our boys are going to school. But the majority of our students go to school in Canada. We have great universities in Canada. We are fortunate, wonderful schools here. But more and more boys and more families are interested in other destinations, and we do have a number that go to the U.S. Great university counseling here to help them with that. UK, great options as well. And as I mentioned, 5 boys this year going to Oxford and Cambridge from our graduating class. So that's great. What kind of applied skills do students get while they are studying? Oh boy, that's really interesting question. I'm not sure what you mean by applied skills, but what I will talk about really quickly is for boys starting in grade 6 through to year 10, we have a compulsory design course. And it's really around design thinking. And in the upper school, boys can choose coding, product design, or film. And they really sink their teeth into those courses and really develop, I think, important skills, important life skills, but also important problem-solving skills. They learn that failure is okay. You don't get it right all the time on the first try. So there certainly are a number of great skills that they're learning. I think also through things like creativity, activity, and service, again, key components of the IB. They learn, they learn to give. They learn that giving is good. Collaboration is important. We are a laptop school. Every boy, we're an Apple school, so every boy gets a MacBook Air when he arrives here. So most of our boys have pretty good technical skills, better than mine. So very, I think, again, very, very strong skills in that area. I hope and I believe when I look at our graduating students, they have good life skills. They graduate from here and they are good they're good, well-rounded young men, which I think, you know, most parents, I think, want to hope and want to believe that they've got great young men. Just a few other questions here. Oh my. Can students prefer Canada diploma instead of IB? So at our school, we are only IB. So every boy graduates with both the high school diploma, OSSD from Ontario, and the IB. And so that is, it's mandatory that every boy does the IB diploma. It's not an option. Is UCC a college for boys especially? We are all boys. And as I mentioned at the beginning, in Toronto, there's still a very strong culture of single gender schools. So we're surrounded by 4 girls' schools. There are 4 other boys' schools in the city. So we're proudly an all-boys school. How does the orientation process go? Do you assist students with their needs for the first few months? Oh my goodness, of course. We have a very robust orientation program. There's a lot of information that we send to families in advance so that the boys are I think, ready to function when they land here. But then, you know, we take very good care, especially of our new boys, making sure that they feel confident, making sure that they are feeling at home. There's going to be a little bit of homesickness, of course, that's natural, but you know, we work very hard to make sure that that's taken care of. Language requirements, again, I've spoken to language requirements. We need at least a minimum intermediate level of English for boarding, and you know, for day, boys' English has to be outstanding. They're competing with great students from Toronto, so it needs to be outstanding if they're applying for day. For boarding, we have a bit more flexibility. Are all the students boarding students, or some of them studying day? I think I answered that during the presentation. We're primarily a day school, but we also have a very robust, very strong boarding program as well. Expectations around English language proficiency. We do not offer ESL. So we expect boys, as I said, to have an intermediate level of English. If they're coming in year 9, we don't require an English test on admission. We require the SAT, but no admission test. 10 or above, we do require that they write either TOEFL or IELTS or Duolingo to make sure that their English is at a moderate level. Are there any other additional requirements for international families? If you're applying for boarding, the only additional requirement would be the guardianship piece, which I spoke to a little bit earlier. All of the boys have to have a guardian here, and if you do not have someone who lives in the city, a family member, what have you, then we will arrange guardianship, or help you arrange guardianship, and we do accept international students on the day side, but again, it's very, very competitive for admission on the day side. And do you think there will be a connection problem between boys and girls after studying? Last question, I guess. Is there a connection problem between boys and girls after studying at a single-sex school? It's a good question, and it's one that I hear quite often. And again, as I mentioned during the presentation, first thing I would say is half of the faculty and staff here are women. So it's not like the boys come to school here and they never see a woman. Half of the faculty and staff here are women, and I would say they're very strong women that work here. And I think they're great role models for the boys. And again, especially for the boys in boarding, we do a number of activities with the girls' schools in the city. You know, I'll jokingly say, outside of school time, life is co-ed, and the boys are going to get a lot of co-ed involvement, co-ed experience. But during the day, Monday to Friday, in classes, there's a safety that happens in an all-boys environment. And it's okay for the boys to be really smart. It's okay for them to be a little bit quirky. It's a really, really wonderful, safe environment. I think the boys really thrive here. But we certainly have no boys who have a problem with, you know, I think that I know of, that have any problems with the other gender and with getting along with the other gender. How would you describe the affordability of your school given the intensive care you provide compared to other IB schools? UCC is not the most affordable school in Canada, but we're not the most expensive school in Canada. I think that we try to have a very fair, you know, our tuitions are very fair. The increases, we've tried to keep them fairly modest over the last number of years. You know, and I think what we provide on a daily basis, I think there's amazing value, to be honest, with what we provide. I think this is probably the best school in the country. I know everyone says that. I think we are certainly one of the top schools in the country, and I think we provide an incredible level of support for the boys while they're here and beyond. So I think that you know, I came from public school teaching parents. I went to public school. Sometimes when I say the amount that our tuition is, I still sometimes I'm a bit surprised as I say the amount. But when I look at what happens on a daily basis, the thing I would say is when I look at what happened during COVID in the spring, when we had to shut the school down and everything went virtual, and I look at what happened in public schools and a lot of other schools where there were real challenges, our teachers and our students didn't skip a beat. They didn't miss a beat. They really transitioned really well into an online environment. What is the dress code for boys? And I think this will probably be the last question because I'm already over time. The dress code for boys in normal times, for about half the year, it's a blue golf shirt, a crested golf shirt, and khaki, so brown pants and topsiders or casual dress shoes. And then from November to March, it's shirt and tie and gray slacks and black shoes. And on Mondays, the boys wear a blazer. And then during non-class time, I think they can wear whatever they want. So it's again not the strictest dress code, but we do want the boys to look similar, to look neat, to look tidy. So we we don't like boys wearing white socks with dress pants, for instance. That doesn't go here. So we'll try to correct that if boys are doing that. So I think that is I've taken care of all of the questions that were in the question section, and I think I'm a little bit over time, and I apologize for that. But I think, as I said, in the chat I provided you with my email address, the web address for UCC, and I would welcome any emails, any questions you have. Happy to chat further to really give you a good sense of whether we are the right school or not for your son and for your family. And with that, I will say thank you for listening. Thank you for the great questions and for your interest in UCC and for thinking about your son. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. It was a very informative presentation, and you covered all the questions. Would you like to repost your email address again? It's on the board.
Right. Oops. At 16.ca.
Yes, that's great. Thank you very much again. Is there anything you would like to add before we say goodbye?
I just want to say what a great set of questions from the families that are listening. Really, really wonderful questions, and everybody's so nice and polite, saying hello and saying goodbye. It's really wonderful. This is about the nicest webinar I've ever done. So I'm happy to have had a chance to do a webinar with some of your families, and I wish I could come to Turkey. Istanbul is one of my favorite cities. It's one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen. So I want to thank you and hope that we can see each other down the road. But thank you very much, and thanks for hosting this.
Thank you very much for your kind comments also. So we would be happy to welcome you in Istanbul as well.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you again for the great presentation.
Thanks very much. It was a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.